Hey everyone, we are back. It has been over 2 months since I've done one of these, and not gonna lie, I got a little mad at Atlassian. It was a bad end of the summer, and I gave up on these. But after the success of the event that I hosted in Long Beach, California, at the end of October, and thinking about it, talking with my mentors, we decided let's bring him back. And so we are back, folks. We are back in action. We're going to finish the year strong. We have 12, not one, not two, but 12 sessions over the next 4 weeks. And we're going to finish the year strong. So we're going to kick things off with metrics, dashboards, and reports. This is going to be part of our Getting Started with Jira series. But before we get too far, if I can get a quick mic check in the chat, give me a +1 if you can hear me. And we are also trying to figure out where's everybody tuning in from. We already have a couple of people in the chat here. We have hello from Germany, from Tucson. We have Braulio from the Dominican Republic. So welcome, everybody. Do let me know where y'all tuning in from. I am getting a +1, so thank you very much. It's been a while. It's been like almost 90 days since I've done these. September 2nd was the last time that I did a live stream, and we are almost at December 2nd, so we're back. I've forgiven Atlassian, and so we decided let's just jump back into it and finish the year strong. Since I had already made up all the material anyways, I had done it since that last December. So we're back. And just a couple friendly reminders before we get too far into it. This session is being recorded and will be available on this YouTube channel right after. So if you're not subscribed, guess what? This will be a great time to hit that subscribe button. Slides are not going to be available, but as you're going to see, we are very, very light on the slides. So we don't have a whole lot of slides anyways. And so you're just going to want to watch that recording on YouTube anyway. So again, subscribe if you haven't already and turn on that notifications because we're going to go live basically every Monday through Wednesday between now and like right before Christmas here in the United States. So we are going to be coming at you with 12. I don't have enough fingers, 12 sessions, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So you do not want to miss out on these sessions. We'll have some links for you in a little bit so you can make sure you get registered for those events. Say hello in the chat. I always love to see the familiar and friendly faces. So if you're new here, let me know that you're new. If you have been here since the beginning of the year, this is even though we're at the end of November, we started this entire series of Getting Started with Jira since January, if you can believe that, 11 months ago. And so if you're new here, let me know. But if you've been with me since day one, also let me know. I just love to see all the different familiar faces. Feel free to ask questions, interact, be a part of this community. One of the reasons why we love doing these trainings is because you get to talk to me. You get to put information in the chat there, and I get to click on things like this and highlight it for everybody. So if you have any questions at any point, feel free to let me know. And so we do have a new person here. So welcome. Nice to virtually meet you. We have another Larry Lee here, new here as well. So it's awesome that we have some new people. Again, we're at the tail end. So if you're definitely new, one of the things you're probably going to want to do is go back and watch the first I will say 9 sessions, I think is where we left off at. So there's 9 videos, there's 9 1-hour videos in this whole Getting Started with Jira series. So make sure you go check those out. And we do have a leaderboard here on YouTube. So it's one of the newer features for the live stream. So the more you interact, the more you go up in the leaderboards. I don't have anything special for y'all for leaders, but we will have some offers here at the end. So make sure you stick around to the entire duration. So yes, we have a couple of new people. So that's really, really cool to hear. You will see over the next 12. I hope you come back to all 12 or the next 11. And they're a lot of fun. And hopefully you like my little humor, dry humor, if you will, and the way I teach this Atlassian material. So welcome to all of you that are new. I also do have a membership opportunity here, and we'll talk about members in a little bit as well. But here on YouTube, if you want to become a member, you get early access to my videos. I got a lot of videos planned for the rest of the year. And then you also get member-only videos as well. And if you do find this training helpful, then feel free to use that super chat, right? Hey, those kids got to get fed somehow, right? So what are we going to be covering today? Well, let's talk a little bit about me, especially since we have some new people. My name's Alex. Why am I talking so fast? I'm just so excited to be here. Again, I used to do these every single month, every single week. We had a little difference of opinions with Atlassian a few months ago, and I got really mad, and I said, you know what, I'm not doing this again. I ended up hosting $100,000 event, and I had to pay $30,000 out of pocket, and it was not pretty. And so I got really, really mad, and I'm like, I'm done giving away free things to Atlassian. So and that's one of the reasons, if anybody cared why these things just suddenly dropped off the cliff, is I just didn't want to give free promotions to Atlassian anymore. But we're back and I've forgiven Atlassian. We worked things out. We figured it all out, and so I just wanted to bring these back to finish out the year because I started them right. We were like 75% of the way through, and I just didn't want to drop off with the last 25. So we're going to be bringing you all the remaining 25% before the end of the year. So a little bit about me. I have the ACP 120, 620, and 520. And tonight we conclude our 420 study sessions. So that means that in the next 30 to 60 days, I'm going to be taking the ACP 420, and that's the last one that I need to become the coveted Atlassian certified expert. So I'm one away from having them all. Well, that used to be true. Atlassian added the 220 or something like that, the Confluence one. I'm not sure if I'm going to take that one, but I have free vouchers, so I might as well just do it. But there is a 220, but you only need 4 to become a certified expert. I do have a couple of engineering degrees. I have a bachelor's in computer engineering, a master's in systems engineering, a few cybersecurity certificates. I'm a huge YouTuber. Most of my time, energy is spent on YouTube. I have a couple of different channels. I will drop a link here from so you guys can all check it out. But essentially, I run this channel, ATech Tech Tutorials, where I do trainings and tutorials on how to use the Atlassian tools. I also am the co-host of the Jira Life. And so if you're ever looking for a podcast to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, all the things happening in the Atlassian ecosystem. We interview Atlassians, we interview champions, members of the community. We always just have a lot of fun on the Jira Life. So if you're interested in that, I'm also the co-host there. And then I have a bunch of other stuff that you'll find out. But I have a podcast on all things Disney. I have a gaming podcast because I like to play video games. And then I have a DevOps podcast called the DevOps Roundup with Sean Doyle. So a lot of time is spent with me on YouTube. And so we have a lot of fun here. All right. So, hey, I almost missed this because Ace Emos had bad info. This happened with several of you recently scheduled. Yeah, I hate Bevy. Bevy's like the worst tool in the world. I'm hoping I went through and tried to make all the links possible, but given that the fact that I have 40 people, took me to the page and I found, oh, that's weird. I will look into that, Justin, because I do have a lot of these. I have 12 sessions total scheduled before the end of the month, but I will ask. I have seen other people. We have an internal like complaint to Bevy channel on Slack, and I'm gonna see if anybody else is having the same thing. But I did test out the URL. I just don't sign up because I'm hosting it, so I don't go through the same thing. So I will definitely look into it, folks. But thank you so much for letting me know. I'm glad you guys were able to find it, though. Okay, yeah. So wow, we're getting quite a few. I will let the Bevy team know, and hopefully I can get them resolved because again, I have more sessions tomorrow. So I will let them all know, and hopefully we can get this resolved by tomorrow. All right. What you're going to be learning today. So we're going to cover two things. We're going to cover Jira dashboards and Jira reports. And so stick with me again to the end. We do have a little bit of a teaser for some exclusive offers, so definitely stick around. And let's jump into Jira. Okay, so to catch you all up, again, this is technically the 10th of a 12th series. So we've had 9 other sessions in this entire lecture here. And so what we are going to cover is basically pick off where we left off. And where we left off was creating filters. And so in Jira, when you have data, right, you want to basically create a filter because when you create filters, then you can more easily, I don't think it's a hard requirement. It's not like you have to have filters, but it will make your life in the dashboards way, way, way easier if you have a filter. And a filter, in case you've missed the last session back in September, it's quite simple to describe, right? So a filter, all it is basically a search, right? So if you search something in Jira, I'm going to click on here and view all work items. And if I do a search, right, maybe I'm looking for every bug, right? Let's just go find every bug that's out there, right? And so if I want to find every bug, I'm going to type in bug here that's in my system, then this is going to return 10 bugs, right? Maybe I want to find every bug that is still open. So I'm going to put resolution and I'm going to put is unresolved, right? So if I want to find every open bug, I have 2 bugs, right? 2 bugs that are unresolved. And it would be silly for me to always go back and look for this data, right? If I always have to find those open bugs and I have to do all those drop downs, well, that's going to get really annoying real quick, especially if I'm referring to this information 2, 3, 5, 10 different times, right? So I'm just going to save my filter and I'm going to call it open bugs. And then again, go back and watch the filters presentation we had in September, right? I'll go into more detail on those. So I'm just going to kind of just fast forward through this because I needed a filter. I have a brand new Jira since the last time. And so I need to create a filter. But once you have your filter, right? And I recommend you create a lot of filters. You have to share the filter, right? You want to make sure you share the filter with the right people, because by default, filters are private. And when your filters are private, bad things are going to happen. You're going to go to the dashboard, the next step that we're going to cover in this lecture here. And then everybody's going to complain, very similar to the way you guys are all not able to get into our Bevy event, right? But everybody's going to complain if you share a dashboard and you didn't share the filter, that they're not going to be able to see the data. They're going to be able to see the dashboard, but the dashboard's not going to have anything in it. And that's because you have to make sure that you share the filter as well. This is very, very critical, folks. If you've never created a dashboard or filters before, this is a critical first step and a very, very big rookie mistake. Not sharing your private filters is going to get a lot of people annoyed. I wouldn't say upset, but people are definitely going to be annoyed when you share your dashboard and they click on it and they're able to get into it because you did your due diligence. You shared the dashboard. But when they go in and they're like, uh-oh, I can't see any of the data, that's because the filter is private. So any filters you use in your dashboards, you have to make available. I wouldn't say public. Public would be a strong word, but you definitely need to make them available to people. Okay, so I've done my part. My thing is visible to any logged in user. That's a little too extreme. This is pretty open. You get to pick whether you want to do a project or specific users or a group. It's all up to you. Again, watch my video from September to catch up on that. Okay, so now that we have a filter, right, you can also just create like all open work, which means I'm just going to say, hey, bring me back everything that's not resolved, just so that I can have another filter. I'm going to save as a copy. I'm just going to call it all open work and just hit save again. I just want to have a couple of filters here that I'm going to need when we go into our dashboard next. All right. So this is going to represent all the work that's currently not resolved. All right. And I have a lot of work, as you can see, thousands. Okay. So we are done with filters. Again, I was just catching up a little bit, giving you a little recap of what happened in September. And so we are now ready to go into our dashboards. So the first thing you want to do, you want to create a dashboard. By default, if you click on view all dashboards and you have a brand new Jira, you're going to have some dashboards, right? Anybody in your company can create dashboards. So there might already be existing dashboards that are shared with you. And so if you ever click on dashboards and you just view all dashboards, this list is going to be the default dashboard that ships with Jira. And then any dashboards that have been shared with you. So they're not necessarily the ones that you created, because if you're new, if you never created a dashboard, you're obviously not going to see a whole lot. But you're definitely going to see a few dashboards here, and you might not see any. That means nobody's shared anything with you. So it really just depends on your situation. But do expect, or don't be surprised if you see some dashboards in here. You're like, wait, I've never created any dashboards. And that's okay, because again, somebody might have created it and then shared it with you. And so you're going to see three combinations here: the default dashboard that ships with Jira, any dashboards that have been shared with you, and then any dashboards that you created. And so that's what you're going to see in this list. Okay. But for the purpose of this training, we're going to create a brand new dashboard. We want to create our very own dashboard. And so what you're going to do, you have two different ways to do it. You can either click in here where you're in the view all dashboards. You can click on the create dashboards up here, or there's a little plus button over here that's kind of hard to see. But if you click on this little plus button, you will then be able to essentially shortcut your way through and save a couple of clicks and then create your dashboard, right? So I'm going to call it open work. Same thing applies from the filters, folks. When you are creating a dashboard, you want to make sure you set the right viewer. Now, the viewer, you're going to see that you can set viewers and editors. I 100% recommend that you always, always, always mind your viewers. Mind who's going to be able to see the dashboard. For your editors, I would be very, very cautious here. Editors are going to be people that can change what's on your dashboard, not the data per se, like any story, right? The status of a story, that happens in the Jira projects themselves. But maybe somebody's going to add a gadget, maybe somebody deletes a gadget. And so any of that kind of shenanigans, that's going to happen by whoever you give access to be an editor. So I try to, at a minimum, right? This is just the best practice, if you will. I try to give my org admins access, because then if I ever go away, or if I'm on vacation, or whatever the case may be, my Jira administrator, they can always come in and make changes. This is especially true, right? If I'm on vacation, the last thing I want to do is be bothered by my vacation and then like come and make changes, right? Like I want to be, enjoying my time on the beach and not be worrying about my dashboards. And so when you create a new dashboard, add your Jira admins as an editor, minimum, right? That would be a good practice. Then on your viewers, you have a couple of options. You can keep it private, which this means that you want a dashboard that's just for you, right? So if you leave a dashboard as private, it's for your eyes only. Nobody else is going to be able to see your dashboard. Next up, we have the individual user. So this is for a very specific user. Okay, you are basically going to allow one individual, right? You're going to put an individual's name here. I'm going to get Alana here, right? I'm going to give Alana the ability to access this particular dashboard. Now, this doesn't scale. If you have 10 coworkers, 20 coworkers, if you have a team of 50, you're going to be here for a while adding 50 people, right? And it's a two-step process, folks. You pick the user, you pick the name of the user, then you got to click add. Because if you don't click the add, nothing happened. Then you got to go back to Alana and change it to another user, right? And like you got to go, I don't know who else I have in here. Let me see. Let's go admin illustrator, right? So you're going to have to do this every single time. And that's just not scalable. That's no fun. You don't want to do that one. So what I recommend you do is you go to space. I'm going to skip group for a second. I'll tell you why in a minute. But I would recommend you pick space. And this is project. In case you, in the chat, does everybody know? Let me know with the +1 if you know, a +0 if you didn't know. But a +1, did you know that projects got renamed to spaces? +1 if you knew, +0 if you had no idea. And you're like, Alex, are we in Jira or are we in Confluence? Let me know in the chat here, folks. Did you know that spaces or projects got renamed to spaces? This is very critical. I want to know. Yeah, we got a +1, a couple +1s, unfortunately. Okay, great. So I don't want to waste energy going back and forth between spaces and projects. If you all know that spaces are now the project. Okay, so let's just continue then, because I'm getting a lot of +1s and just 1 +0. So for that one, for you that are a +0 right now, we used to have something called projects that went away 60, 90 days ago. And now we have something called a space. And I've asked the head of Atlassian, the head of Jira. I've asked Dave Meyer, the head of Jira, and I asked him, why would you do this? Like we grew up with projects. Why would you need rename to spaces? And he's like, well, Confluence has spaces, Loom has spaces, and the Teamwork collection should all just be spaces. So Jira is part of the Teamwork collection, and so that's why we now have spaces. I think it's a bad answer, but we have spaces. I foresee that Confluence will go away in the near future, and everything's just going to be inside this Jira tool. That's my prediction. What do y'all think? Let me know if you think I'm crazy or not. All right. Anyway, so we're going to pick space, and then we're going to basically pick the space that the team that the data is being pulled from is going to congregate in, right? So if you are in, like, let's just say you're in IT support, well, you're going to want to share with anybody who has access to IT support. That way you don't have to explicitly add people. You can get a little granular, maybe just the members, maybe just the team, right? You get to do these if you want, and just all you got to just click on the add button, and then that happens. And you can, again, just like the users, add multiple spaces here, and this makes it just way, way, way easier, because it just takes a lot of the extra clicking. Imagine if each of these had like 100 people in them, you'd have to sit here and add 200 unique users. You don't want to do that. Spaces way, way easier. And the important thing for you to remember is that this is going to respect the permissions of the project. So if you have access to the space, then you will have access to the data in the dashboard. Okay. Wouldn't surprise me they rebranded all. I have a suspicion that so here's my problem. I would think that they rebranded all, but the brand Jira is too powerful for Atlassian. In fact, I've heard rumors that at one point Atlassian considered renaming their company to Jira. So I don't think that they would rebrand away from Jira. It's just too much of a powerful brand. But I do see them going away with Confluence and just folding it in and just promoting Confluence. That's my but yeah, Jira Teamwork. that is a beautiful name. I think you might want to copyright that one before they get it. But yeah, that would make sense. Jira Teamwork. Okay. So anyway, so back to this, right? So as long as you share with the right space, and as long as people have access to the space, then Bob's your uncle. You're good to go. The other options that you have is group. Now, group is tricky. And the reason group is tricky is because you need to know the name of the group. And unfortunately, only the Jira admins know the name of the group. And so this is catch 22, if you will, where you need to know the name of the group. And unless you created the group, right? If you were like, hey, Jira admin, go make me a group, then you know the name of the group because you gave it to them. But to see like the full list of the groups that are available, that's something only your Jira administrators can do. And so unless you're a Jira administrator yourself, and or you had the group requested, then you might not know the name of the group, and so you might just this might just not be an advantage for you, right? But again, your mileage is going to vary and you do what's best for you. But if you didn't want to do the whole projects here or spaces and you just want to do a group, you can do that. And as you can see, you can do any combination of any of these. So if I wanted to do this, you can do that, right? So I can do a user, I can do a group, and I can do a space. Now, if you are doing a dashboard for literally anybody and you're like, I don't care who sees it, you can do my organization. And this is going to be anyone that has essentially a license to Jira. When you do this, this is good. So the ability to see the dashboard, right? So when you click on view all dashboards here on the left, this will show the dashboard to literally everyone. The safety here is that the rules of Jira still apply. So if you don't have access to the space, then you won't have access to the data on the dashboard. So even though you're going to be able to come to a dashboard and maybe the filter got shared with you, you won't actually see the work items because the permissions for each space govern and dictate what data is viewable by which user. So I am okay with doing my organization because at the end of the day, Jira, as long as my Jira permissions are set up correctly for the space, then I got nothing to worry about. Data, people are not going to see data they shouldn't see. So this is the safety. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to tell you before we actually go into the dashboard itself is what's the difference between viewers and editors? So I've already mentioned at the beginning that the editors are people that can make changes, but one thing you need to know is that you cannot be in both. You're either a viewer or an editor. And so that means that if I were to do, let's just do group. Actually, let me do a user because it's easier to highlight, right? So if I say, hey, Alana, I want you to be a viewer, awesome. But then if I say, hey, Alana, I want you to also be an editor. So if I put in Alana's name here, watch what happens. Nobody blink. See how she went away from the viewers and she came down to the editors, right? So you cannot be in both. You're either a viewer or you're an editor, but you're never going to be both. By virtue of extension, every editor is a viewer. So, there's that. Anyways, when you're done, I'm just going to open it up to my organization because that's usually what I do. 9 times out of 10, I just add the organization. Again, I don't care who can see the dashboard because my permissions of the project are going to dictate everything there. All right, so we've officially created a dashboard. That was probably the longest introduction to how to create a dashboard that you've ever had in your life. But hopefully you understand what each of the different buttons mean. So give me a little +1 in the chat if you enjoyed getting that description. And give me a +0 and you're like, Alex, never explained to us how to create a dashboard ever again. So anyways, we are done with creating the dashboard. We have created the dashboard, but now we have a blank canvas. We have an empty canvas. So what is a gadget? Because what you have now is the ability to add gadgets. And you're probably wondering, well, what the heck is a gadget? Well, gadgets are things that represent our data in Jira. So they're going to be a visual element that represent our filters. And so there's 33. At least in my Jira, there's 33. You may have more. I don't think you'll have less, but you might have more. And the only thing you really need to know is that almost all these gadgets are made by Atlassian, and they'll tell you who they're made by. See, made by Atlassian, made by Atlassian. If you've never created a dashboard before in your life, my personal recommendation would be make a private dashboard for your eyes only and add one of everything. Just go through this list and add every single gadget in here. There's 33 of them. Add them all to your dashboard so that you can see how they work. I won't have time to add them all in this training, but I highly recommend that if you've never created a dashboard before in your life, then you go through each one and just add one of everything so that you can see how they all behave. You're going to learn which ones you like. You're going to learn which ones you hate. And this is just going to be super valuable to you if you just can appreciate what each dashboard does. Okay. So just go through each one. I'm going to call out just the popular ones in this training. I'm going to try to keep it short, right? So we're going to just do the ones that I normally use 9 times out of 10. But I would recommend, again, if you've never done this before, add your own or add one of each. The other thing you need to know is that some apps like custom charts for Jira, there might be other ones. I'm working with another vendor called Great Gadgets. Um, there's filters, filters, something filters, right? But there's a lot of apps in the marketplace that will add rich filters, right? That will add extra gadgets. So you can actually buy, there we go. Yes. Rich filters, right? So they will add extra gadgets here on the right hand side. So one of the things you need to know, and I probably should have opened with this because this is my biggest disclaimer that I usually do, but I love Jira. I think Jira is one of the coolest tools in the world. But boy, oh boy, do their dashboards and metrics suck so much, right? Like if I had to say one thing that Atlassian should change would be their dashboards. They're so primitive. They're so basic that it's hard to get any real value or data out of the native Jira. 9 times out of 10, and I'm not exaggerating this, folks, you will most likely, almost always, in almost every situation I've ever been in, you'll either buy one of the plugins or you're going to get your data out of Jira and put it into something powerful like Power BI or something like that. Now, there's other plugins like Easy BI and again, custom charts for Jira, Great Gadgets, rich filters, right? There's a lot of different apps out there, so definitely check them out. Every single one of them, except for maybe like Power BI, gives you 30 days trials. Again, I'm not sponsored for this video for any of that, but I am sponsored by a couple of the vendors, so definitely check out. I have some videos on custom charts for Jira, although I don't use custom charts for Jira anymore because they got bought out by Tempo and then they started charging for it, so I don't use it. And then Great Gadgets is the one that I'm working with right now. I'm exploring that app or those apps right now. Yeah, and they have no historical. Yeah, so again, these are just so basic, so primitive. They suck. The out of the box stuff is just very sucky. But not all things are bad. Let me just show you some of the ones that I like. Okay, so what do we do when we have our gadgets, right? So you obviously want to, when you have a dashboard, you're going to want to add a gadget. By default, this right hand side should always be open. You should always see those add a gadgets. And here's what I like to do. Okay, I like to come in here and I like to add my first one is issue statistics. Okay, we're gonna configure these in just a second, but I like to do. Alex, don't get shadow banned, please. I take a tremendous amount of pride in telling Atlassian when they suck at something, and they know it. I've had a conversation with the CEO of Atlassian, Mike Cannon Brooks, and I do not like the new UI. I absolutely hate the new UI. I think the new UI is one of the worst things that Atlassian has done in a very long time. And when I interviewed the CEO of Atlassian, when he walked into my interview that I had with him, his first words were, "So you're the guy that doesn't like my new UI." So Atlassian keeps me around, but I tell them things that they don't want to hear, and I tell them things that they do want to hear. Again, I do love Atlassian. I bleed blue, Atlassian blue, but I'm always going to tell Atlassian when they got to fix something, and their dashboard is something they got to fix. Rovo's supposed to make some improvements here. But I haven't tested it yet. So maybe we'll do a 2026 session on Rovo. Okay, so back to this one. So issue statistics, this is the one that I use almost all the time. I love issue statistics. I'm going to configure that for you in just a second. Other ones that I like to pull in, one of my favorite ones is going to be the pie chart, because this is the only gadget that is going to give you some inkling, some visual, right? All the other stuff is very table-like, but this pie chart's the only one that's going to have some color on it. So I like the pie chart. And then a couple more that I would definitely pull in for you all is going to be my 2-dimensional filter statistics. And then the last one that I would pull in, just in case you're curious, is going to be filter results. So these are the 4 main ones that I almost always use, and I like these. Now, Justin here has an interesting comment. I use JSM and not able to compare SLA year over year. Yeah, so that again, those little lackluster Elements makes a plugin for XLA. I would highly recommend you check out Elements, Justin. But that's one of the sucky parts about the whole world of Jira too. For as great as Jira is, you almost always need some plugin to extend its capability. So it's great because Jira is kind of cheap, but then it gets very expensive when you start adding a ton of plugins. Okay, now on the similar tone of or note of JSM, There is a plugin that I absolutely love. It's my favorite of them all. Sorry, gadgets. Yes, Elements. That is correct. Elements has an XLA. It's SLAs plus so much more. So I definitely recommend you check them out. Okay. So my absolute favorite plugin, but huge disclaimer, huge red asterisk here is this only works if you also have JSM. If you have JSM, this is low key the best plugin there is. Okay. So I've added like 5 plugins, or sorry, gadgets. I'm going to close the gadgets out. I don't need that. I want to show you the full screen, and we're going to configure each one over the next 5 minutes so you can kind of see what these look like. First thing you need to know is that by default, you get this like dual pane, dual column thing. You can move them around, and you can see here, it'll make them side to side. You can also click on change layout, and you can go full screen if you want them all just very linear, very sequential. The 2 columns is the default. You can do 3 columns, although things get really tiny. I kind of like this left sidebar, right sidebar, or inversed, right? Left sidebar, right sidebar, but one's bigger than the other. I kind of like this one because you're going to put the more important things on the left and then the lesser important things on the right. And so let's just keep this one here just so you can kind of see what this looks like. So when you add a gadget, they're all going to be defaulted to like the same default name that they have. So I highly recommend, first things first, is name your gadgets, because if you don't give it purpose, then 6 months down the road, you're going to forget what this thing does and what kind of data it's showing you. And so it's a good idea to name your gadgets once you drop them in, because every single gadget is going to give you the ability to give it a name so you can see what data you have. Okay, so this is going to be my JSM awesome gadget. I love this gadget, folks. I'm going to show you some cool things you can do here. Okay, so once you gave it a name, once we know what this thing's for, we're going to have our save filters. This is where having all those filters we made at the very, very beginning, 30 minutes ago, when I was wasting your time, or you thought I was wasting your time, this is why this is important, right? Because you need to feed it a filter in order for the gadget to work. Not every gadget needs it. There's 33 from that list, but almost all of the gadgets need a filter before. Okay. So now that I have this, I can basically do number of results. This is all I want. We're going to hit save. So I can show you what this looks like. Okay. Oh, sorry. This is a filters resort. This is not the awesome gadget. So all this does is shows you basically what was in your gadget or what's in the filter, right? So it shows you your data. And so you can see there's 5,041 items here. And all it does is it brings you back the results. That's what the gadget does, right? Now, if I click on the 3 dots here and I can click on configure, I can always go back into it and change things up, right? So I'm actually going to rename this one filter results demo, right? And so once you have this, one of the things that you should do, right, you can display up to 50 rows. So we're going to do 50. And then you get to display which fields you want to show. So maybe you want to show the assignee. Maybe you want to show the status, right? So you can add and remove columns, fields. And once you're done there, you can click on this update every 15 minutes. This is optional. If you've come from Jira Server, you know to click this button, but it doesn't really matter. You can always just hit refresh on the page. But as you can see here, my thing now shows you my issue type, the key, the summary, the priority, the assigning, the status. And so whatever data I bring back, you can essentially show that data and it'll put it back right in here nicely. And you can move it around. So if you want it on this other one here, you can kind of do it, but you can see it got real compressed over here. If I scroll all the way down, I can slide it over, but this is just not good UI. So something like this big one, right? The filter results, I would always keep it on the left-hand side or on the bigger section so you can see as much of that data as possible. Well, first we're going to start with Tricia. So yes, Jira out-of-the-box reporting levels leaves a lot to be desired. Yes, it does. I suspect that it's because a lot of teams users, based on my limited, don't prioritize. Yeah, so it's interesting because the teams teams themselves, I'm actually not a huge fan of dashboards or reports. I think if you need a dashboard or a metric or a report, you failed somewhere upstream in your processes, because the dashboards are there to enforce, I think is the word I'm going to use. They're there to enforce behavior because you're exposing data, right? My 2 cents or my opinion of this would be, if you have good engineers, right? If you have good people doing the work, then there's never anything to expose. And so you shouldn't need a gadget or dashboard. Vicky asks, which gadget would you suggest for data of assets in your dashboard? So I don't know that I've used any dashboard on the assets yet. Um, I'd have to check. On the JSM assets. I don't like assets. I actually always recommend my teams to use assets for Jira, which is a plugin, so that you save the money on the premium Jira JSM, because Jira Premium is way more expensive than Jira Standard. Sorry, JSM Standard. And so I usually just have my teams go and buy, if they just want assets, but not all the other premium features of JSM. I have them go buy like assets for Jira, and then there's native dashboards and reporting into that app. So I don't. Let me circle back, Vicky, if we have time at the end to look at that. Okay, so that's how easy it is to configure one gadget. Now, my two-dimensional gadgets, I like it. I like two-dimensional filter statistics here. This one's cool. So if you pull in your data, this one lets you show two fields. So I can do my assignee, and maybe I can do my status. And so when I hit save on this one, you're going to see that I can see um, every individual across the top, and then the status is the work. Or if I want it in reverse, then you can click configure and swap these around. So you can do status and assignee. And I'm going to fight every teenage urging me to not spell assignee the other word. Okay, so then we have our assignees going as the rows, and then we have the statuses that everything is in. So as you can see, Alana has 2,341 items to do. I'm gonna have a talk with Alana. She has too much on her plate, right? But you can see this two-dimensional thing is probably one of the most powerful gadgets that ship for Jira for free. Is this two-dimensional? You only get two fields, but you can have a lot of these different ones. So you can show like assignee and priority, assignee and you know, status, right? Assignee and whatever fields are supported. Another caveat that you should be aware of is that if it's not in here, you're not going to get it. Which is why I so highly recommend something like custom charts for Jira or great gadgets or rich filters, because those are going to give you way more fields that are supported. Like for example, if I want a due date, if I wanted to see all the work that each individual has by due date, you can see that in the letter D, I don't have due date. That's not a field that I can use. And so that's not good. We don't want that, right? But that's how that one works. So just, where's my save button? Here we go. We're going to go to the pie chart. So the pie chart is only one field, but again, and the pie chart is one of those fields where, one of those gadgets where you can do either the filter or the project. So I'm going to type in all work again, and oops, not that one. All, oh no, what was that one? Nope, it wasn't that one. All open work is what I called it. And we're just going to show assignee. So when we click save, every assignee is going to have a picture here. And again, you can pick any field that is supported. Not a lot of fields exist though, which is again why I'm starting to sound like a broken record, folks, but trust me when I tell you, you definitely want to look at one of the paid plugins if metrics and dashboards are important to you, right? I can do like issue type, right? And you can break down the work by, so you know how many stories and tasks and subtasks and everything else you have available to you. This is a good one to move over to the side and pull over here, because this little pie chart doesn't take up so much room. And so that one I can kind of put on the side there and then come down and look at this other stuff here. Now, let's look at issue statistics. This is the one, again, that I use the most. And so when I pull in my all work, I'm going to do it based on like status. This is very much similar to the two-dimensional one, except you just get one dimension of it, right? So I can show all of the work by status. The two-dimensional takes it a step further because I can show the status and assignee. So those two are probably the ones I use like almost all the time, right? Between those, the issue statistics and the two-dimensional filter statistics, those are the two gadgets that I'm using like 100% of the time. Okay. And then we have our filter counts. This is my favorite gadget of them all. This is the most powerful one that exists. I absolutely love this one. Check this one out. Okay. So if you're multitasking, give me a second because you're going to love this. Come on. Give it to me. There we go. All open work. Okay. And I'm going to click on counts. And what's cool about this is that you get to do like assign to me. And you can add like 10 of these, I think. You can show all the ones that are priority the highest. Yeah, Rich Filters offers 10 times better gadgets, which some are great. Yeah, absolutely. The paid plugins, folks, are worth it, right? It is definitely worth it. Like I'm showing you the best of the free stuff, right? I'm showing you the best of what's free. And so when you use this filter counts, what this does is it gives you a nice, cool little metric here. So you can just see how many, whatever criteria you have is like assigned to me, highest priority, set in status, or status in progress, right? But you might have caught it. There is a build a custom count. And what I like about this one is that this allows you to take your filter and then zoom in and just do very specific JQL here. So I can do like stories only, and it's taking the sub filter, right? It's not going to go and query all the data in Jira, but it's going to sub query the data in the filter. So my filter is bringing back all open work, right? So none of the resolved tasks or work. And so I'm just going to do issue type equals story, right? And when I hit save, I will now have stories only. When I hit save again, out of all of the work, 4,681 are stories, right? And maybe I want to see, right? Maybe I want to see the bugs, right? Like high priority bugs. Well, I can do issue type equals bug and priority equals highest, right? And so when I do this, right, again, it's taking the normal work, right? The work that brings back 4,964 items, and it's going to bring back the high priority bugs. Now, this is telling me that there are no high priority bugs. So one of two things happen here. Either A, I really don't have any high priority bugs, which I find hard to believe. So let's see. Let's do this. This is an easy fix. Is my query wrong, or do I really not have any high priority bugs? Well, I'm going to drop in priority here, and then I'm going to drop the issue type on this one. And when I hit save, I should see every bug in the system. And so I don't have any high priority bugs. Oh, wow. That is interesting. No, something is not right. Something is quite wrong. Here we go. I got to hit show more. Okay, here we go. So I have bugs. See, highest, I have none. So let's change my query to be my critical bugs. All right, so I'm going to change this one here. I'm going to edit, and it's just going to be critical bugs. And then my priority is going to be critical. So I'm going to repeat this one again, folks, because this is such a powerful filter, which again is only available if you have JSM. This allows you to take the query of the 4,964 total work that is part of my filter, and I can subquery down, and I can start looking at very specific data within the grand scope of all that work. So if you look at the 4,964 items, 814 of them are the highest priority. 74 of them, of this 4,964, are in progress. 4,681 are stories, right? And so you can subquery your data here. It is very, very powerful. So that, my friends, is how you build a dashboard inside of Jira. Now, we're going to pivot a little bit. We're going to go to reports, because reports in Jira are slightly different. And we're going to come back to our filter, but I only have 7 minutes to do the rest of this training. So we're going to do a little quicker, right? So reports in Jira. So everything I've shown you right now, I would call this metrics and dashboards. This is the category of the data that no. I have enough work. I have plenty of work. Let's not be spreading rumors or bad ideas here. Okay. So everything that I've covered here is either a dashboard or a metric. That's how I would classify it. And there's another thing called reports inside of Jira, but the reports are trickier to get to. And reports are too many words. Reports are space specific. And so I have to go into a space. I have to go into a board. And then I have the report section here. Now, these are all out of the box reports. These are built by Atlassian, and you really can't tweak these in any way, shape, or form. You saw with my dashboards that I tweaked the crap out of them, right? I was manipulating the data to show whatever data I wanted to see. Limited because of, how Jira works, but I was in control. With these, you're not in control in any way, shape, or form. These are all things that ship with Jira. So we have something like our burn down chart, right? And so our burn down chart is just going to be showing us all the work in a specific sprint, how many story points your team signed up for, and then how your team is burning against that sprint. This is a horrible metric because it's from like May 2024, but this is essentially what the burn down does, right? And all you can do is change what metric you're seeing, whether it's story points or maybe another number field like original time estimate, and then the sprint, right? Which sprint do you want to look at this? I only have one sprint, so you're only going to see one sprint. But that's it. Like all the rest of the data, it ships with Jira. So you have to use whatever's in Jira. And so let me see if I can go back to my reports here because that back button wasn't working. We have a burn up chart, and this is going to try to predict based on our team's performance, when is something going to be, when are we going to finish all the work, right? All of the work, all the stories and tasks and bugs that are in our backlog. And based on our velocity, right? Based on our how many stories we can complete sprint to sprint, Jira is going to make a prediction of when we're going to be able to finish based on that speed. And it's usually pretty accurate from what I've used in the past. We have velocity charts. Velocity charts really only work if you're using story points, but this is going to tell you, oh boy, it doesn't tell me anything. This is supposed to tell you it's at the vertical bars, and it's going to tell you how many story points you signed up for at the beginning. And then at the end of the sprint, when you finish the sprint, it's going to tell you how many story points you actually finished. And so this is a great indicator to show did you sign up for too many story points, or did you not show or sign up for enough story points? Let me see if there's another one that can give us this data here. I do like the velocity chart. Velocity chart is one of my favorite. Nope. These all projects have yes, this velocity chart report couldn't handle the longest sprint in history. Yeah, this is like a year and a half sprint, folks. Do as I say, not as I do. For full disclosure, this is my demo Jira. So like this is not, oops, no, going the wrong way. Going the wrong way. Go back. Okay, I'm trying to see if I can find oh boy, I'm still in the wrong spot. Okay, just trust me when I tell you, these should usually show you like 5 or 6 sprints worth of work. And it's super valuable because it's going to show you how many story points your team says at the beginning of a sprint. These are how many we can do. And then when you click the complete sprint button, it'll show you how many you actually finished. And so there's usually a little bit of a gap. That gap should be within 20% of each other, which means if you sign up for 100, you should finish about 80, right? On average. A lot of teams, depending on what kind of team culture you have, they'll shoot for higher. Most teams will barely get to 50 points, right? Like assuming you've signed up for 100, most teams will barely get to 50. But again, that's that report there. And then the only other report that I like to do out of here, and I highly recommend you, again, just like the gadgets and the dashboards, check them all out so that you can understand what they do. But the only other one that I love is the cumulative chart. And this chart here, holy moly, this is just too, okay. So we're looking at all time, but just, okay, past 6 months, maybe past year. Let's do the past year. Because all my data apparently is from like 2024 for some reason. Atlassian gives me this Jira, so I don't actually put this Jira in here. So let's see if this actually shows me anything. I don't even know if I can support that long. Okay, that's strange. So this chart, this chart's supposed to show us, let me see if I can get it in the other board. This chart's supposed to show us, there we go, here's a sand chart, by status, right? So this is pretty cool because you'll see the colors have to eat each other, right? And so as the to-do goes down because you stopped adding more scope, your testing and your progress should fluctuate pretty evenly, but your done should eat up everything over time because you're finishing the work and your scope should be decreasing. And so this chart will show you that information. So it's very powerful from that perspective. And so the only last thing here, folks, to start wrapping things up is we're going to go to the dashboards because some, not all, some of the reports are available in the gadgets. And so if we go to edit mode here, you're going to see that as you look at your gadgets, there is a sprint burn down. And where is it at? It's probably in the S's. Here we go. You get a sprint burn down. So if you add this one, you will need to call out the sprint that you're in. These only show available sprints that are in there. And then you can click save and you will get the sprint burn down. So out of all the reports that I just showed you, and of course, there's no, of course, why would this work the first time? Folks, I never script any of my videos. Never script any of my. Okay, so I apparently have no active sprints. Let's try the middle one. See if we get lucky with the Cowboys. Any Dallas Cowboys fans out here? Okay, here we go. Yay. Maybe you guys might actually win a football game this time around. Okay, actually, the Cowboys have been doing okay this year, no? I don't keep up too much. I just watched the Super Bowl, folks. But I've heard bad things about the Cowboys, so no offense to any of the Cowboy fans in the audience here. Give me a +1 if you guys are Cowboy fans. Okay, so we have our Cowboys here, and as you can see, this is the only and only report from all the reports that I showed you just moments ago that actually show up inside of your dashboard. So they came back from a 21 yesterday and won. Okay, see, I thought I had heard that the Cowboys were finally doing better. So I'm glad that they're doing better. I was in line one time at Legoland with my sister-in-law, and she was getting ice cream. She couldn't make up her mind, and I looked behind me because there's like a line forming, and there's a Dallas Cowboys fan in the line, and I'm telling my sister-in-law to hurry up, and when I look and I notice and realize that there's a Cowboys fan behind me, I go, I say it too loudly. I'm like, never mind, it's just a Cowboys fan in the back. And holy moly, the one time in my life that I actually feared for my life was then and there. Like that was like the instant biggest regret of my life. So don't piss off Cowboys fans. Chiefs aren't doing too well this time around. I just saw that they were like 5-5 a couple weeks ago. What's going on with the Chiefs? Okay. Anyways, so that's that. Just to wrap things up, let me make sure I didn't miss anything. I think yeah, we covered the two things. I wanted to give you a couple, just some homework, some disclaimers here. I have launched in partnership with Josh Golosinski, which I'm one day I'm going to learn how to pronounce his last name, Golosinski. We launched an exclusive paid community. It's called Atlassian Everything, and I would love if you guys can all help me hit our goal. I'm trying to see if I can get to 100 members by the end of the year. We have 59 right now, so 40 more members to go. But we have launched a exclusive paid community. We're doing a Q&A in 9 minutes where if you have more questions, any kind of questions that you want, we can talk about them in our Q&As. We have a classroom with a bunch of trainings. So I have my Learn Jira in 5 days, Learn Jira administration in 5 days. More importantly, I hosted a 3-day conference. I wrote a book. Here it is. The PDF is available to everybody on here. All of the sessions, the keynote, everything that we talked about at the 3-day conference, it's all in here. So if you're interested, there's nowhere else to get this content. There's like 26 sessions that we had. We had a lot of governance and agile processes and Jira administration things. I have literally the best of the best Jira admins in this summit that I hosted. And so if you want to hear from some of the best experts in their fields, this is the only place to get it. So we have a classroom. Again, all of the builder summits are there. All my Learn Jira. We're dropping so much content. We have, again, the community here. So any Jira questions that you ask, we jump in like that and we answer them. And so Josh and myself and some of the other experts in our community, they are offering up to their knowledge and expertise. And so we are definitely a really awesome paid community, first of its kind that I'm aware of. But I just dropped a link here in the chat to join our school community. So this is something that's interesting to you, right? If you've been looking for ways to take your skills to the next level, if you want a place that has curated content, because you can always find all the Atlassian information for free. I mean, this is just one of them, right? But we curate, right? Josh and I are experts in our fields here, and so it's just the best way to make sure your concerns and questions are always being addressed. Now, if you don't want to join the school community, but you still want to learn some stuff, I'm going to be dropping here. This is going to be, let's see, what am I dropping here? We are doing this one right here, Jira Foundations. So this, whoopsie, no, wrong button. This course that I'm gonna drop here, I have a Udemy. I have a link here. We are doing it for $9.99 for just the next 5 days. So if you want to pick up our Jira Foundations, this was updated for 2025. It's a new course. It's $10 and it's complete. It's just for the next 5 days. So if you don't jump on it now, you won't jump on it later because it won't be $10 anymore after 5 days. So definitely check that one out. I did it in partnership with another company, another individual, and we walk you through how to use Jira from an agile perspective. And then if you wanted to take this course, right, like this foundation stuff, fundamentals really deeper, I am retiring the current version because it's with the old UI, but a bug is always going to be a bug. But if you wanted to get it for free, I'm giving it away for free for the next 5 days. So if you're interested in that one, would love it if you guys can leave me a good review here, because I'm going to redo the whole course with the new UI and give you guys all the newest concepts there. And so make sure you at least grab it. It's free. And when it gets updated to the new content, it's still going to be free because it's still going to be yours. And so definitely take advantage of that I'm giving away for free for the next 5 days. So 3 takeaways here, right? Join our paid school community. We have different tiers for different benefits that you get. I'm giving away my Jira Foundations, which is like an agile-based course on Jira for just $10 for the next 5 days. And then since I'm retiring this fundamentals course, it's completely free and you will get the update when I drop it in 2026. This is my ATEG-led courses. I mentioned at the beginning that we have 12 courses in total. We are going to be hosting these over the next month, right? So if you haven't signed up for the rest of these, then definitely sign up and take advantage of that. And then the last thing that I'm going to give you here is take your skills to the next level, right? There's so much more available. Everything's in my link tree here. So if you take anything away, connect with me on LinkedIn. I always love connecting with folks and building those connections. So if you want to stay up to date with everything going on in my life, and if you enjoyed this training, right, I do so much of these, right? So I have 2 years of just content out there. So follow me on LinkedIn so you can always be up to date with all the crazy things that I'm doing. Yeah, just at the very least, it's completely free. Connect with me on LinkedIn. But if you want to join our school community, folks, this is where we're putting every egg in this basket right here. So if you want the absolute best that I have to offer, it is all going to go into that school community. So I'm going to drop that school community one more time. Join that school community. I guarantee you all the high quality stuff that I'm doing, all the premium stuff that I'm working on, it's going into that school community right now. So that is going to be the place for you to join if you're interested in getting the most bang for your buck. So that's it for this one, folks. Hit that subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed, we are always looking for subscribers on this channel. So if you're new here and you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. It's completely free for you as well. And connect with me on LinkedIn. At the very least, connect with me on LinkedIn. And we'll see you all tomorrow. We're going to be doing these tomorrow and Wednesday, and then we'll follow up for the next few weeks. So make sure you come back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Different link, but let me see if I can get Bevy fixed by tomorrow. If not, come to the YouTube channel. We'll be on YouTube. All right, folks, thank you so much, and we'll see you. And if you're a member, right, if you've already signed up for school, I'll see you in 4 minutes. We're going to go start our Q&A on the school side. So if you want to join that, definitely become a member on school. Thank you all.